Hey, welcome to my March wrap-up. Today I feel like a superhero or something, but I'm actually not dressed as any superhero character. I am dressed as Persephone/Mary, the heroine of the first book I finished reading in March. Unveiling Venus is the sequel to Following Ophelia, also by Sophia Bennett, and I read this last year and it didn't quite make it into my top books of the year list, just because it didn't feel like the story was finished. I felt like there was so much more to read, and I was not disappointed by Unveiling Venus, which I think I liked even more. It was fantastic, and I am hoping against hope that one day there will be another book in this series because it is fabulous. So I will put a link to my review of Following Ophelia in the description, but I'll quickly summarise what happened in that book. So it's about a girl called Mary who has very striking red hair, who comes to London to work as a servant in the pre-Raphaelite era. And she is quickly discovered by some of the artists and taken under their wing, and she becomes a model, which is very scandalous. Unveiling Venus is the next stage of Mary's adventures. She is now living as Persephone full time, and she goes to Venice to stay with a friend, and all kinds of mysterious, romantic and dangerous adventures happen to her, and I loved it. I really did. And I asked the author if there's going to be another book in this series, and she said sadly not at the moment, but I am hoping against hope that because she said she would love to write one, if I can talk about this book enough and this book enough, lots of people will read them, they'll be an amazing success, and so she will write the third book. So yeah, make my dreams come true. Buy these books, read them, love them, spread the word. They are so much fun, and the level of historical detail is amazing. I really loved this book in particular because she goes to Venice, and I've been to Venice and I think it is basically the most beautiful place on earth. And so reading this book was like getting to go back there and walk down all those streets again and see the canals and the beautiful buildings and the art. And what I also liked is that she visits Venice in winter and I went in the summer, so it was like different enough to really get my imagination working and to force me to picture it in that way, but similar enough that I could recognise the places that were referenced. What I really love about both these books is that they are dramatic and romantic and exciting and artistic, but at the same time they don't shy away from including all the less savoury aspects of women's place in society at that time. They don't shy away from showing how difficult it would have been for a woman in Mary's position and the position of women who are less fortunate than she is. And I just think that's really refreshing, and it's very unflinching, and I really enjoy that about this series, and I just want to see more of it. I want to find out what happens to her next and read more about her wonderful historical adventures. The next book I finished reading in March I talked a little bit about in my March TBR video, and that was Never Evers. So after reading Unveiling Venus, I was really full of this historical fiction bug. I wanted to read loads more, and from the books I'd read in February, I really wanted to read some fantasy books. But first I thought I'd read Never Evers, because when I was looking at my bookshelf for a new book to read, it was snowing and I thought it would be appropriate as it's set during a school ski trip. Oh my god, I loved this book. It's so much fun. I think it's aimed at younger teens, maybe top end of middle grade, and it's just adorable. It's kind of cheesy and it's not really a twisty and turny, unpredictable storyline, but it is hilarious. It is genuinely really funny, and I fell in love with all the characters, as bizarre and brilliant as they are, and I would strongly recommend it to you, especially if you need a bit of a pick-me-up, if you're looking for something to lift you out of a bad mood, or just to give you a good laugh, then definitely check this out. It is fabulous. So I was already off to a really good start to the month, but then I decided to read The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black. Now, I had won this copy in a competition years ago and never picked it up because I just wanted to be in exactly the right mood for it. And then I had tickets to see Holly Black at Waterstones Piccadilly for the launch of The Cruel Prince, and I felt like it was now the time to read this. I felt like I should read it to prepare me for reading The Cruel Prince, but also just to get me in the mood for seeing Holly in person and hearing what she had to say about writing and all of that kind of thing. So I decided to read it and I was not disappointed. This was fabulous. I love Holly's writing. I love the way she describes her fantasy creatures and clothes. I love the way she describes clothes. I feel like not enough books put time into describing the clothes the characters are wearing, but she does it, and not in a kind of over-the-top way where you get a whole paragraph about someone's outfit, but just kind of lightly and naturally, you know. Characters consider what clothes they're going to wear, and you hear about them that way, or they look at somebody and they notice their clothes, and yeah, I just love it. So this story is about a brother and sister, mainly the sister, who live in a small town where everybody's aware of the existence of fairies. In fact, they have their own kind of pet fairy, a boy fairy who's lying in a coffin, a glass coffin, who has been lying there for years and years and years and never been awoken. Then one day, he's gone, the coffin is shattered, he's not there anymore, and stuff starts to happen, and there are all these really interesting details about how the lives of the townspeople are interwoven with those of the fairy folk, and you kind of get drip fed all this information, and it's really compelling and gripping and exciting and thrillerish and fantastical all at the same time, and I loved it. I think that my favourite book of this month was probably Unveiling Venus, but this comes close because it's just fabulous. If I'd read it probably on any other month, it would have been my favourite read. But yeah, I think I just love the descriptions of Venice in Unveiling Venus and seeing Mary/Persephone's journey so much that this had a little bit of a disadvantage. But yeah, it's an absolutely amazing read and I would recommend it. The final book I finished reading in March was for my YA book club, hashtag book club YA, and that was I Am Thunder by Muhammad Khan. This is about a girl who gets kind of drawn into radical Islam and kind of everything that led her up to this point, and the decisions she makes and the people she meets. The author wrote this to show how young people could become radicalised, essentially, and I think it did a really, really good job at that. I was really drawn into the story. It gets quite thriller-like at the end, and I was just rooting for her the whole time, and it was kind of a frustrating read, and also I had great sympathy for the main character. I very much got emotionally involved in it, and it was a great book to talk about at book club as well, because we could talk about whether we thought that the portrayal of the characters was honest and interesting and realistic, which we all did. And yeah, it was great. I think there were a couple of places where I wasn't too sure about what a character's role in the book was going to be, but in the end it all came together and I really enjoyed it. Strange as it is to say about a book that covers such a difficult subject, I did really enjoy it. So that's the end of my March wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more from me. Leave me a comment and let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. You'll see me again soon. If you would like to read more books but don't know how to get in the habit or find books you'd love, check out my free e-course. The link is in the description. Feel free to share it with any family or friends that you think might be interested. Bye!